I look at it that if I can remove by leveraging technology and AI, like you said, tasks, right? Or tactical repetitive work and open up more time for me to work on strategic work, right? It's just like somebody that doesn't have any time other than to operate their business and they can't think or look ahead because they don't have the time to think strategically, right? But I think the other thing is you're removing some of these barriers by leveraging technology. But the other thing that I see is a mindset. And the mindset that has to coincide with this is something that you have listed here, but maybe didn't emphasize, is let's look at problems as opportunities, right? We hear this all the time. But if you have an opportunistic mindset as you talk, you've had conversations with people that are just negative about everything, right? And then you've had conversations with people that are very positive and see the good in what's going on, right? I mean, it's just like the naysayers, the people that say, "Oh my gosh, robots are going to take away all of our jobs and we're all going to be unemployed." Mhm. I don't see it that way. And people can debate me on it, but the robotic vacuums at a facility that I go to with frequency, the robotic vacuums at night free up the people that used to operate the vacuums to do other meaningful things within that same building. They did not lose their job. If anything, they elevated their technical expertise because now they know how to run robots. All right. And as you know, Portland has ice storms, right? We have problems. We have snow every now and then, but then it becomes dangerous. And I was on a task force to try to solve a problem of ice when it melts, slipping off a roof and becoming a tremendous hazard. Okay. And the natural thing was to leverage the technical mindset that we have today. You know, so should I run copper wires on the roof so we can melt the ice before it gets too thick, right? Should we increase the size of the gutter so we can capture it, right? Or we had somebody, and it was nobody on my task force, no one my age, said, what if we had a drone that had de-icer and we do what they do on airplane runways and on airplanes, and we take the drone technology and have someone using the joystick like your video games, and we actually spray de-icer on the roof of this building so it doesn't accumulate. So you're taking a problem and creating an opportunity that leverages technology, right? And sure, we had to hire a licensed drone operator. We had to take out a little insurance on the drone that it wouldn't go haywire and crash into some car. And they had to invest in the technology of two drones to mitigate the risk of someone being seriously hurt. So that was a good example of how a problem was solved outside of the box, outside of the traditional way that I was never going to think of on my own, right? It was, to be honest, it was a young techie, someone in their 20s who said, why not do this? I don't know if it's possible, but what if?
I'll add one thing to that, which is what are the two skills that you need to have to be able to recognize those things? And those are the two most important skills which I think we need to have more training for, which are innovation and entrepreneurship. Your entrepreneurial mindset is what's going to help you recognize that opportunity, and your ability to innovate, which is a skill, meaning there's a lot of other pieces of it. Like it's a bundle of skills, but there's all these different skills that ladder up to someone being innovative, and there's all these different skills that ladder up to someone being entrepreneurial. And if you have those bundles of skills, you're going to be very effective at identifying and solving problems, identifying problems, and identifying opportunities for growth as well, and acting on them.
I can't agree with you more. And in this particular case, persuasive communication. You took somebody who had a fantastic idea, but from an authority perspective, they were one of the lowest people in the room in regards to experience, title, whatever. And they had the wisdom and the confidence to help solve a problem and to contradict the other solutions that were on the table already, right? And to take it to the next level. You know, now that roof does not have copper wires running all over it to melt ice. We actually mitigated the amount of ice by putting a de-icer on it before it could be ice.
And how many days would you have actually had ice on there that you needed to run the copper wire? Because the copper wire would have been there year round.
Permanently. Exactly. And in the creative element of, okay, because the naysayers were like, well, yeah, but where's the thing going to take off and land? Guess what? No one's using the outdoor tennis court when there's an ice storm. So we have a landing pad on an outdoor tennis court now that is safe. It's even fenced in the winter, and it can be a drone pad, right? And so they're solving all these problems and recognizing them. And Annovation took it to the next level. That drone investment also became a marketing tool because they took some aerial shots and videos of this building, the operations, the people that they never would have done, and they sure wouldn't have paid an outsourced agency this much money. And they were able to do it by just attaching some new technology to that. And so now you have a multi-use asset.
That I think that too, this whole story is a great example of two things, which is the importance of having that diversity in that group of people when you're problem solving. So that you do have
Yes.
those different, if it was all young people, they would have maybe missed some of the, like, there's context and other things that you think you just came up with this great idea. Well, guess what? Like, been there, done that. The first thing everyone always thinks of. And so I think it is a great example, but then also that culture where I think, yes, that the person's ability to communicate persuasively is important, but they're being in a space, creating a workspace that is conducive to being able to share ideas and be innovative and be entrepreneurial, making it so it's not a high risk, or it's not it's not a bad thing to speak up and share those ideas, and encouraging that really. I know I myself personally, I've worked in job places that encouraged that and were really rewarding. I worked in places that I would say that they were and really weren't, and the ability to grow professionally, especially as a young professional. When I started out, one of my first places I worked was super share the idea. Everyone's on the same level. Share your ideas. If you have a good idea, let's run with it. My personal career growth was so much higher and faster at that place. And I think that is, in this phase of AI productivity, the businesses that can really embrace and see the opportunity to use tools to enhance what their workers are doing and embrace some of those other skills are going to be outpacing. And the employees that can do that as well are going to be getting that growth as well and just really outperform the others.
And there's a really big point there that a lot of businesses are missing, especially businesses who don't understand. Often this happens by accident, but what'll happen is someone comes up with an idea or some type of thing where they're like, I think this could be better if we did this. And they pitch that. And then they pitch that to the leadership team and they shoot it down. You know, it might be an offhanded shoot down. It might just be kind of like a, I don't think that'll work, or a no, or however they shoot that down. But the problem is you have to be very careful how you shoot down ideas if you're going to say that won't work, because you need that person to be looking for these different times where they could improve something and actively pitching you their ideas. Because if you don't do that, you start shrinking the like brains involved in your business from a business of like brains of the number of employees to businesses more toward the brains of just a couple of people on the leadership team. So using all of the actual innovative power of your employee base is important rather than actually stifling those ideas and making it so that you don't get those ideas anymore. And it's just your ideas are the only ones that are actually being put out there. You're, you create this echo chamber and it causes a risk to your business. And it happens time and time again in all kinds of different businesses.
That's a good point. In this a young professional that came up with the idea, what do you think their level of confidence was after that? How did they feel about themselves? They felt not only did I contribute, they implemented my idea. So, Alec, I think one of the things, you have that list going of future jobs. So let's add to that certified drone operator.
Well, I don't know. In 2040, drone it might be drone programming,
There
but
we go. But
because I think you've set the
at this
path.
point, the insurance companies require a certified drone operator for liability purposes, particularly if you're flying and doing some shots in a stadium for a concert or filled with athletes and fans. Your drone has to stay controlled, right?